Studying abroad is not just about academia, jobs, and careers, but much more, like being independent, personality development, making friends globally, learning about different cultures, traveling, and many more enriching, unforgettable experiences. Hook on to our episodes of Student Spotlight and get fruitful insights about our students who share their beautiful journeys with you. So in today's episode, we have a PhD student, Kuldeep, who is from Rajasthan and is doing a fully funded PhD on transport and urban planning from Loughborough University. This episode is very unique as there is very limited information and help available to understand how to crack a fully funded PhD. Kuldeep has been very kind and very nicely broken down the application process and the strategy he used to get full scholarship. This can be useful for a lot of you all who are aspiring to study a funded PhD from the UK. Let's hear from him about his experience on PhD so far.
Yeah, so I did my, so I'm from a small town called Pinmal, very close to Jodhpur. So I did my schooling till 12th standard there from a Rajasthan board affiliated school. And then I did my undergraduate from a private university in Udaipur. And then after that, so I did my undergraduate in civil engineering. Okay. And after that, I worked as a site engineer for Jodhpur for a year. And then I did my master's from PNIT Nagpur in transportation engineering. After finishing my master's, I worked as a junior research fellow in IIT Hyderabad. Okay. And then I applied for PhD, and then I got a funded opportunity from Loughborough University on a research area that I wanted to work on. So since then, from October 21, I'm in Loughborough, and this is third year of my PhD.
Okay, and what PhD is it, and what is your research going to be on?
So my PhD is a part of transport and urban planning group here at Loughborough University, and my research area is focused on understanding pedestrian behavior in presence of autonomous vehicle, or what we call in layman language the traveler's cars. Okay. So I'm trying to understand how pedestrians will behave when they come across a car in which there is no one on the driving side.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That's nice. Quite a niche, to be worked on. So tell us what got you thinking that you want to do a PhD, and at what point in your journey you started making applications or taking PhD seriously?
So when I joined my master's, I had no intention of doing a PhD. I just wanted to finish my master's, probably look for a good job in some good government institution or PSUs. But then when I was in first semester of my master's, I was involved with quite many research projects with my supervisors over there and few teaching assistantships as well. And that was the time when I thought that I don't want to work in industry and I want to stick with academia, with research and teaching. And that's when I decided to do a PhD after having conversation with my supervisors and few professors over there. And so I started applying as soon as I was about to finish my master's. Because I did my master's back in India, so it was a bit difficult for me to directly apply for PhD here. So there are two ways at which you can apply. You can either apply directly for advertised position, or you can contact the professors who are working in the area that you want to work in, and then if they agree or if they like your research idea, they will support your application. So I went with the second route. I started contacting professor when I was in final semester of my master's. I contacted a couple of professors in Australia and a couple of them in UK. I was lucky enough to get quite positive responses on the area that I wanted to work in. To be honest, I had no intention of pursuing this PhD outside India, but then still the area that I wanted to work in was quite fresh and quite new in India. There wasn't much research going on in India about that. That's why I started looking outside India, and I got quite a positive response on my applications. And so I got some offer from Australia. I got 2 offers from UK, but then in the end, the professors with whom I was in contact here his research interests were very close to what I wanted to do. So that was the reason, and also it was a fully funded PhD opportunity. So that was the reason
Okay,
I
nice.
chose.
So, did you just cold email or cold contact the professors, and or how many did you contact, and how did you find out which ones to contact?
So trust me, I have dropped like a lot of email. I must have dropped like around 150 to 200 emails to different professors. So first, what I used to do, I used to check out the university's rankings, and then based on those ranking, I used to then figure out which are the professors who are in that particular university who are working in the area that I want to work in. So then I used to look for the professors who are working in the transportation, urban planning, and then more specifically who are working towards pedestrian safety or intelligent transport system. And that's how I used to I used to maintain an Excel sheet with all the professors' name and their email address. And then daily I used to send them the tailored emails. So I used to talk about their research, what I like about their research. Then I used to tell them what my research interests are. And then I used to ask them if they have any opportunity for me or like that. So that was the process that I followed, and I followed it for quite a couple of months. I did it for 2-3 months, and I got various kind of responses. Sometimes professors were interested, the academics were interested, but they didn't have any funding, and sometimes they had funding, but they were not quite interested in the research work that I wanted to do. But then in the end, I got quite a couple of offers.
So, did you email them, like say, if I'm a professor, how many emails would you send to me?
So for the strategy that I used to follow, that I always used to send my email on a Tuesday from 10:30 to 11:30 or 10:30 to
Their
12.
local time.
Yeah, their local time, 10:30 to 12. Because
Morning.
yeah, morning.
Okay.
Because Mondays I used to avoid, because Mondays is the time when they have quite a bunch of emails from the weekend. And then Tuesday, I want my email to be the first thing they see in the morning.
Right.
Yeah. And so then I used to send them an email. If I don't get a response, I used to send again a reminder email, replying to the same email within 10 days. But I used to wait till a week or 10 days to
again resend them a reminder.
resend them in the reminder email. But yeah, so I used to get responses after the first email. Sometimes.
And were they all customized email based on what research they did?
Yeah, so I used to have a master email format, which is basically what I want to do and what I'm expecting from them. Then I still have a tailored section about what, because you want them to know that you are interested in their research. So I still used to have a customized section about where I used to talk about their research and what I like about their research.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's nice. So this process went on for a couple of months.
A couple of months, yeah.
And then once you started getting positive responses and professors mentioned that they could fund it potentially, at what stage did you send the research proposal?
So once the professors who or the academics who were interested in my research idea, then the first step after that is they ask you for your research proposal. So they ask you to put together a 3 or 4 pages research proposal where you, right, obviously because it's a research proposal, it is not supposed to have a concrete plan or everything, but you put together a couple of paragraphs of introduction, a couple of paragraphs of literature, what is missing from literature, what you want to do, and how you plan to achieve it. So they ask you for a research proposal. So I sent my research proposal to QUT Australia, and then I sent my research proposal here in Loughborough as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you follow a format for the research proposal? Because UK has a specific, usually every country has their specific formats.
Yeah, so when I took, I did some research into that, and I just found a few templates about how do you draft a perfect research, not a perfect, but how do you draft a good research proposal. and then based on that I took some ideas from him, some ideas from them, and some I put together. So because the supervisor that I was in touch at Loughborough, he was really helpful. So when I sent my first draft of my research proposal, he sent it to one of his senior PhD students to look at it, and if there is anything that needs to be changed and all. So then me and the PhD student, we went a couple of back and forth she gave me some comments, I addressed those comments, and then when we both thought that, oh, now this research proposal looks presentable, then we sent it to, because when you submit a research proposal and your supervisor likes that research proposal, then that supervisor along with another academics from the school or from the department, then they will, based on that research proposal, they will have an interview with you.
Right.
Yeah, that interview they will ask you about your research proposal, how do you plan to achieve it, is it possible to achieve those within the time frame and all, and then they'll ask you a bit of technical question, normal question, why do you want to do PhD and all those kind of stuff.
I think you mentioned 3 universities.
Yeah.
QUT Australia,
Yeah.
Loughborough here, and Southampton.
Southampton, yeah. So QUT, I sent my research proposal to the professor, and she was happy with it. She asked me to submit it to submit my application to National Scholarship Round. I heard from the professor here in somewhere around in May 21. I heard in May 21. Then 1 month went with me sending back and forth the research proposal with his PhD student, and then I had my first round of interviews somewhere in June.
Okay.
And then I had my another round. So first round of interview was just to discuss my research proposal and all. So once you give the first round of interview, then you submit your application, you submit your research proposal to the university system, and all those things, and then university asks for both the interviews to give their comment about my application and my research proposal, and then based on all of that, they first decide whether they will make an offer to me or not, and so that was all done by end of June.
Okay.
So I got my conditional offer letter by first week of July.
Okay.
After that, I had another meeting with the school administration about my studentship application, and then they so by that time I just had an offer, and then after meeting with the school administration, then they decide that whether they will, based on that all those criteria, then they decide whether they will be able to fund me or not.
Okay.
And so I still remember by 19th of July I had confirmation about the funding as well.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, so I think that whole process took from the time I got a positive response from the professor till the time I got my funding offer. It took around 2.5 months.
2.5 months. Okay,
Yeah.
so it is still fairly not too
Yeah.
lengthy a process.
Yeah, and then it was too early for me to join the July intake. So
Okay.
then they suggested me that because there was visa process and everything, so they asked me like it would be better if you join the October intake. So that's why I joined the October.
So even in PhDs you have intakes?
Yeah, so for PhD we have 4 intakes.
Okay.
So we have one in October, one starts from 1st of October, one starts from 1st of January, and then 1st of April, and then 1st of July.
So when you say an intake, I'm assuming it's not a classroom setup.
Yeah.
Why would then they need an intake?
Basically, that is the time when they invite applications to apply for PhD program.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's how it works.
Yeah.
So how much was the published fees that you were exempted?
I think it is 27,000 pounds per year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Almost then it was close to 90.
Yes.
So while your last interview with the administration for studentship, that's what is the scholarship is called studentship.
Yes, scholarship. It is the one that I have. So university has different kind of scholarships. So some of them are in collaboration with industries,
Mm-hmm.
and then some of them are they have a CDT program, that is Center of Doctoral Training, if I'm right. So in CDT program again you have funding. So industry fund half of your project, industry or EPSRC, the project half of your PhD and half university contributes. And then you have university studentship, which is full funding comes from university.
Okay, that comes from the university.
University.
So that's why it's called studentship.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
And is the term different in all universities? This is a Loughborough thing, or?
I think the one that comes from university, I think it's consistent across the university.
Okay, right. Nice. So then you applied, you go through, so your visas and everything was covered, the cost was covered?
Everything, every cost. So other than my health surcharge fee and all other than my health surcharge fee, everything else was covered by the university.
Nice. Do they also fund you for the accommodation, or that's something that you need to pay?
No, accommodation. So accommodation I need to pay. So even in university studentship, there are two types of studentship. One which covers only your tuition fee and university related fees, which I have, and there is also one which covers your tuition fee as well as they give you some stipend.
Okay.
Yeah, so in which you get a stipend, which is I think somewhere around 1500 per month.
Okay.
Now. So if you get but still university don't have any clause where they provide you free accommodation.
Okay.
As part of your PhD scholarship.
Okay, but they give you the additional
They give you
stipend.
the stipend, and on that stipend
You can bear your expenses.
yeah. So that stipend is basically to cover your living expenses.
Nice. So how is your course designed? What is the study pattern? I'm assuming no classrooms because it's not a top program. So are you, based on your research proposal, are you given guidance and resources are provided in terms of e-libraries and your study hubs, or is there anything apart from that?
Yeah, so basically, so when you start your PhD, you meet with your supervisor, you sit down with your supervisor, and then you decide, because your research proposal is still a very big idea.
Right.
Yeah, so you sit with your supervisor and then you decide how you want to proceed with it. That is the time when you start doing the very extensive dig into the current literature that is present in that field. So you start doing the literature review, start going through the past work that has been done, and then you try to figure out what is missing, what is something very specific that you want to address. Okay, and then that's something that you want to address. Is it worth a whole PhD, or is it just a small objective, or is it way too ambitious for a PhD? So there are a couple of things. So that is when the literature comes in picture, where you start doing the literature, you try to figure out what you exactly want to do. Based on the gaps in the literature, you decide 2, 3, 4, 5 research questions that you want to address. And then and this literature you do based on the journal papers, conference papers. So you go through the journal papers in that area, conference paper that area. So we have, and I think most of the universities have access to all the journals. So you can just look for any journal you want. You just log into your university credential and you can just go through the papers from there. Loughborough also has a very extensive and very vast collection of library materials that you can find.
Okay.
So you can go to the library. If not, you can just go through the library's website and look through the catalog to see if you just want to go through the ebooks. Also, I think which is something which I found very helpful. If there is some material that you want and it is not available in the place, you can just send them an email and they order it right away. You just tell them why you want it.
Okay.
And how it is relevant to your research or your course or anything, and they order it. It happened with me for 2 very specific books that I wanted, and it was very expensive, and I wanted it wasn't available in library, so I just dropped them an email, they ordered it, and I got it from them.
Okay, that's nice. So your PhD, usually there's a time frame of 3 years.
3
you're
years.
given.
3 years.
What happens if you don't complete in 3 years?
So you do. So basically, you're given a time frame of 3 years, and then 3 years for your research, and then 6 months for your writing period.
Okay.
And then, because PhDs, it's very uncertain. There are sometimes things which doesn't work in the way you want it. So you were not able to get the good data, or maybe you got the data, but the result you were expecting, the data is not working in that way. So in that case, there are so many factors which can affect your PhD journey, because it is a very research extensive course and it can be very mentally exhausting at times.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you need to, universities have clause of extending the PhD. You can extend it. So I think you can extend it by period of 2 months or 6 months. You have to pay a small fees towards it, around 200 or 250 pounds, and that you can, if your supervisor agree that okay, there is a need to extend your PhD, and then you can submit your application to the doctoral college, and then doctoral college take a decision.
Okay.
But you can extend that.
Right. And do you get a chance and opportunity to pivot from what your actual research proposal idea was based on?
It is, and in most of the cases, you do pivot.
Okay.
Yeah, like when I started, my research aim is still the same, but the earlier methodology or research question I proposed, the one that I'm finally doing now is quite different from what I originally proposed.
Okay, and that's in consultation with your supervisor.
Yeah, because when you start going through the literature review, you sometimes figure out that okay, what you wanted to do, which that has been done recently, or what you wanted to do, or what the methodology you wanted to follow might not have the merits that you want. So it does change over the period of time. That's a challenge of a PhD, but then that's also a beauty of doing a PhD as well.
So how often can you meet your supervisor if you wanted to more support?
As an international student, it is a visa requirement in UK that you have to meet your supervisor at least once a month.
Okay.
So that is a visa requirement. So that is the minimum requirement. Other than that, it depends on what has been agreed between you and your supervisor. So in the starting phase of my PhD, I used to meet, because I was mostly just going through literature, I used to meet them once a 2 week or sometime once a month only. But now when I'm very close to working on my data analysis, I'm meeting them every week.
Okay.
Yeah. And every week I meet them formally. In between, if I have any questions or any doubt, I can just go talk to them or drop them a message on Teams. And
Right.
yeah, so that depends. I think this thing fluctuate with how is your relationship with your supervisor.
And what point?
What point of your
journey-
PhD you are?
Yeah.
Like what kind of support you need.
Okay.
Yeah. So that fluctuates. It's not always a very good experience for some of the PhDs. They don't have that good relationship with their supervisors, but yeah, in most of the cases, that you can meet or you can discuss with your supervisor that way.
Right. Now, what is the process here in the UK when you complete? Firstly, you submit a draft, which needs to get accepted.
So what happens here is that you basically in Loughborough it is that you first submit an intention to submit.
Okay.
So that is basically you are saying that now I'm ready to submit my thesis within 2 months. So once you submit the intention to submit, you have to submit your thesis within 2 or 3 months from that point of time.
Okay.
And then when you submit your thesis to your doctoral college, in the meantime your supervisor identify an external examiner for you.
Okay.
So which is someone who needs to be outside of university.
Okay.
So you need an external supervisor, and then doctoral college send your thesis to your external supervisor as well as your internal examiner.
Mm-hmm.
External examiner as well as your internal examiner. Okay, because from that point, your supervisor don't have any involvement or any say in this.
Okay, so the assessment has started.
Yeah, so once the assessment has started, your supervisor don't have any say in this. Okay. Your supervisor, so before submitting, you send a couple of drafts to your supervisor, and then you go back and forth with addressing their comments. And once you and supervisor, everyone agrees that okay, your now thesis is, then you submit it, and then it goes to your internal examiner and your external examiner.
Okay.
And then based on the thesis, both of them goes through your thesis, and then in consultation with your supervisor, they decide a Viva date.
Okay.
And Viva is the time when you have to basically present your whole thesis or your whole 3 works, and you have to defend it in front of the external and internal examiner. And then, based on your Viva and your thesis, your external examiner, they have 3 options. They can either completely reject it. Okay, if they say that the work that has been done is not up to the mark at all, then that means I think you have to take an exit with the MPhil or MRS route, which is Masters by Research. But that hardly happens. That only happens which in the case if you haven't done anything in a PhD. Now, other 2 option is they pass you with minor correction, or they pass you with major corrections. Or sometimes if the corrections are very major, they might propose another Viva as well.
Okay, they might. Okay.
Yeah.
Give you another date.
Yeah, and then in discussion with you and your supervisor, they give you a time frame to address those corrections. So if it is a minor correction, I think you only need 2 or 3 months. If it is major correction, it's between 2 to 6 months.
Okay.
So you have to just make those corrections and then submit your thesis again. That's it.
Okay.
Until and unless if your external supervisor, external examiner wants to have another Viva after your corrections.
Right.
Yes.
And how long is the Viva?
That depends. I have had friends who finished the Viva in 1.5 hours. I have had friends who finished whose Viva went for like 4 or 5 hours as well.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But a short Viva or a long Viva doesn't mean that if it's long that means you haven't done well, or if it's short you've done well. It always depends on how you are present, how interested your external examiner, how many questions he has. Because sometimes it is your thesis is quite straightforward, they get it right away. They don't have any questions about it. Or sometimes sometimes the external examiner wants to go chapter by chapter, everything. So it varies, but yeah, on an average it takes 2 to 3 hours.
Okay. How many more students are there with you doing similar to what you're doing, or it's just you?
Also in my research group, I think we have around 15, 16. But in our school, we have total 8 research groups.
Okay.
And we have around 112
Students.
PhDs.
PhD.
In our school, overall in the university, we have somewhere around 1,500 PhD students.
Wow, that's a good number.
Yeah, so I also sit with I'm also the vice chair for doctoral researcher experience board.
Okay.
So where we work, the board works closely with NSU and university's senior leadership team to improve overall PhD experience. So as of now, university has planned to increase the number by 30% more in the next 2 years.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So you mentioned in your group you have 6 to 7.
16 to 17.
16 to 7. So when you say your group, is it all in urban planning?
It's transport and urban planning, but different research area. Like
Okay.
I'm working in pedestrian safety and autonomous. There was another friend of mine who was working in air transportation.
Okay.
And then there are another who are more working towards urban planning, city planning, mobilities, and all those.
Okay. And do you have the same supervisor, set of supervisors? Or?
No. That's so
Okay.
in our research group we have total 7 academics.
Okay.
Yeah. So there can be that in some cases my primary supervisor is someone's secondary supervisor,
Right.
or my secondary is someone's primary.
So
But yeah,
within-
there is a combination of it.
Within 15 to 16 in your group, you have 7 academics who
Yeah,
are
but-
overlooking.
Yeah, and then also some of them are also doing interdisciplinary research.
Okay.
So one of their supervisors is from my group, one supervisor is from another research group, or all together from another school. So I have one supervisor is from transport and urban planning group, and another supervisor is from design school.
I get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that depends on your research area, what kind of expertise you need in the research that you're.
And how many of them do you think would be fully funded?
So I think as of now, I think we have somewhere around 30 to 40% who are fully funded plus stipend.
Okay.
And we have additional 40% who are just university students.
Okay.
And then we have around 15 to 20% who are self-funded.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Yeah. Many home students are self-funded because for for them
The government pays.
the fees is very less.
Nice. You also mentioned you're working part time or full time. You're also working, right?
Yeah, so I'm doing some teaching. So I'm on the university casual paid teacher role.
Okay.
Yeah, so I teach one module in undergraduate first year, which is about law and economics related to construction industry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you get interviewed for that?
Yeah, so I got interviewed because that is a paid position, so I get paid for that based on hourly basis.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you have your, because it's a proper module that you teach, you would have your slides and PowerPoints
Yes.
and scheme of work
Yeah, so
all submitted.
yeah, everything. So I have a module tutor who is the main tutor and looks after it. I just look after a small component of the whole module. So I look after the law part as well as the tutorials and the tutorials for the whole module as well.
Okay, that's nice. And how you're working elsewhere, accommodation is funded, you mentioned.
Yeah, so I'm also one of the, I'm subordinate at one of the halls in Loughborough. So I'm a subordinate at Telford Hall.
Okay.
Yeah, so as part of, so subordinates basically look after students out of office hours. So
Right.
that is 6 p.m. to 8 a.m. on weekdays and whole day on weekends.
Okay.
Yeah, so every hall has a 3 or 4 subordinate based on the size of the hall.
Okay.
So in my hall we have like around 500 students. We have 4 subordinates.
Okay.
Yeah, so we do it's a rota basis thing. So I do 1 week a month, and then someone else do another week, someone else do. That's how we do 4 weeks a month.
Is that a paid role?
It's not a paid role, it's a voluntary position, but then you get a free accommodation and free dining credits.
Okay, which
Yeah.
is nice. Right?
Which is nice.
That
Yeah.
helps. And
Yeah.
as a part of your PhD, you're always on campus, or you have to.
That depends. So for my PhD, I have to travel a lot for my data collection because my data collection is based in London. So I have to go London quite frequently. But then if your PhD is lab based, then you have labs in the university, and then some of them they also have to, because some of them are doing PhD here, but their study area is in their home country, somewhere else in the world, then they have to travel to that place as well.
So for that, who pays for the travel?
That is again agreed on when you join the PhD. So if you are self-funded, then you pay for yourself. But if you are fully funded, then it's always
So you invoice to the university.
yes. And university also supports you in other ways. So university has a doctoral college, research support fund, and school also has those support funds. Those support funds are available to you for data collection, field operation, as well as to go and attend national and international conferences as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so for that also university gives you some funding. That is open to everyone, whether you are self-funded or fully funded.
Okay.
You just make an application, doctoral college go through the application, and if they feel it's
Worth it.
they pay you the money.
Okay. Good. Any advice you would want to give to students applying for PhDs? Because a lot of students in India especially aspire to do PhDs, but they can't make it because maybe they're wrong in strategy. Anything specifically you want to tell them?
Yeah, so I would suggest one thing that if you are going through the route that I went, which is contacting the professors individually, that can be at times very time consuming. You just have to be very patient with it. Like for first 1 month, I didn't get even a single response from anyone. So just be very, just be patient with it. Be very specific with what you want to do. Present your ideas to them well, and hopefully you will get a positive. In most of the cases that I have heard, you will definitely get a positive response from somewhere. And also another easy way is to directly apply for advertised PhD position. The only issue with advertised PhD position is that it can be very competitive.
Alright.
Yeah, so you can find advertised PhD position on Find a PhD. That's a website specifically UK based. So you can find all the advertised PhD positions there. But if you want to pursue a PhD, if you have that much patience and commitment, just stick to it and you will get it.
Okay, nice. That's a fair piece of advice.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of TSS. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure of sharing it with other students and leave us a comment. Your feedback helps us continue to provide valuable content to students everywhere. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the world around you. Thank you.